Hey guys, what is up? It's Greg here from Personal Evolution, and today we are talking about the cryptocurrency Polkadot. We'll cover what it is, how it works, and what could happen in the long run with the DOT token price. We'll be looking at this from a kind of venture capital point of view, so a really business focused point of view. So if you want to look at maybe charts and trends and look at breakouts and whatever else, you probably want to find a different channel because this is a very kind of business focused look. And how we do that is via our fundamental analysis of crypto's framework, which I've outlined in another video, but we can jump into it now and I'll show you what that is. So, Polkadot, let's take a look at it. As a reminder for everyone who hasn't seen it before, this is the business model analysis framework we've been using. It's adapted from A16Z's Economic Flywheels for Crypto video. Check the link out below, really good video. And like I say, yeah, it's a really business-focused look how a layer one protocol functions and builds momentum within the system. So very quickly, starting with the founders, they put the initial effort in to design a protocol that then attracts investors who bring funding to the table, which helps increase the token price. With better token price, we attract miners or validators, depending on what proof system you're using. And they provide production capital into the system. That gives it functionality because we can reach consensus and do all the good things that blockchains are known for, which brings more dev resources and stuff like that. Third-party developers bring human capital to the system, so that's their input, which develops useful applications, which, with more utility coming out of the system, brings more users who bring a community back into the system. So it's all inputs and outputs. And what happens is, as you put more and more of this together, it should drive the flywheel. So hopefully that's clear from this diagram. Like I say, check out the other video if that doesn't make complete sense. So let's take a look at the protocol. How does Polkadot work? So at the heart of Polkadot, there is a relay chain. And I'm going to show this in a diagram that makes it a bit clearer in a second, but you need to know these three terms first. So there's a relay chain that's responsible for the network's security, consensus, and the cross-chain interoperability. We then have something called parachains, which are sovereign blockchains that can have their own tokens and optimized functionality for specific use cases. They connect to relay chains via validators. And then finally, we have bridges, which are special blockchains that allow Polkadot shards to connect to and communicate with external networks, Ethereum. And I'll show you how this works. So this is the lovely diagram that is in the description. There's a link to it that's in the Polkadot notes. What we have around the outside is data coming into the system via external inputs. This comes into collators, so they bunch up the data. They then pass it on to the parachain, the center of it sort of thing. That's where all the processing happens. These little things, they're like apps basically, and we'll go down into some of the, it could be like CryptoKitties or something, for example, even though that's Ethereum. The Polkadot version of CryptoKitties is sitting in the middle here, sucking in all this data. The data is also then passed on to the validators, who then bridge all that into the relay chain, which shares the transactions and tells every other app or whoever's using the relay chain in the system that transaction has happened. One thing that's quite cool to note here is that each of these happen in parallel. So it's hugely scalable. So, you know, where Ethereum, we've got loads of gas fees at the moment and stuff because there's so much pressure on it. This allows Polkadot to scale really well. And in fact, it gets, the chain gets stronger, the protocol kind of gets stronger with scale. So that is a really cool thing that, yeah, definitely look into it because it's very technical and probably out of scope for this video. But yeah, so that's the basic thing. Let me know in the comments if that all makes sense, and we'll move on to our kind of where we are in the business model. So yeah, highly interoperable. As you can see, there's loads of dApps on that relay thing, and it passes all the information in. Allows specialization. So I haven't touched on this. Each dApp around the edge can do a very specific problem. So it's super optimized to that thing. We see this all the time in business, like you build APIs to get the best in breed. Say you want a finance tool, but you're not going to ask another company to build a finance tool, you go to Stripe. And so that's one of the examples, whereas you wouldn't use Stripe for maybe customer support, you'd use Zendesk or something like that. It allows specialization, And like I said earlier, each one of those runs in parallel and passes information back to the main protocol. Yeah, in parallel. So moving on, in terms of investors, Polkadot actually had one of the most successful ICOs, 145 million they raised in funding. However, due to a hack of one of the main contributors, 60% of those funds were frozen. It meant that Polkadot's early development was slowed down significantly. However, it was able to keep going. And in 2019, it did a private token sale. And in 2020, it raised another 43 million via another private sale. We don't know, or I couldn't find the exact figure for the 2019 one. So it's pretty well funded. Like I said, the notoriety it got from the initial ICO kind of served it well in the end, even though it was probably painful at the time. And yeah, that brings us on to miners/validators. So Polkadot is a proof of stake system that runs a hybrid consensus mechanism. I will not try and explain that to you because it's in the wiki and that does a much better job than I will ever. I will butcher it. Polkascan.io/Polkadot shows the total validators we have in the system. So the number of active accounts is probably the key one there, 208,000. That is across all types of accounts, where I was saying the validators and the collators and stuff earlier. That all goes into the account, but you can see there's quite a lot. And it's steadily growing, which this kind of bottom graph shows. So we're getting a consistent growth. So that's good. Also good to note here that the average block time is quite low and the total transactions by day are pretty consistent. So that's our kind of miners and validators part. Good stuff so far, really. So we're feeling quite positive. Third-party developers. This is where it really starts to heat up. So a recent study by Outlier Ventures, which you can find the whole report below, showed that Polkadot is one of the developers' favorite in the ecosystem. And you can see this is growth in 2019, I believe. I can't remember where I put it. But yeah, if you go into the report, you can see the kind of information there. And it just shows EOS, Tron, Cardano have lost developers in the time period these guys were looking at, and Polkadot have gained almost massively, maybe picking up some of the people who are coming out of these ones. Yep, first really promising bit. Electric Capital also ran a report, again in the links, and I thought this was interesting. At 3 years since the first commit, so that is day zero down here, Polkadot outpaces Ethereum in the number of developers. So yeah, really positive stuff again. And finally, so the question is, what is driving this when we're thinking about businesses? Something called the Web3 Foundation. Now, this is where Polkadot's money comes from, and it's actually founded by the same team of Polkadot. So it's set up as a kind of as a foundation, so it's separate from the Polkadot system, but it helps raise money for projects that are building on Polkadot. 200 plus projects funded in over 50 countries, and I'm sure there is more to come. So in terms of what the most prominent dApps are, we have polkaprojects.com that will show you all that, but I listed a few out here just to show like the kind of usage. So we have Kusama, if I'm saying that, which is like the Polkadot test network. Kylin, which provides oracles for Polkadot, so that's bringing data in from external sources. Kala, I believe it's said, it might be Asala, bringing DeFi to Polkadot. And Moonbeam, which provides Ethereum compatibility. All of these projects are quite, from the outside, seem quite well run, and I'll probably dive into them in a separate video. Again, let me know in the comments if you think that would be interesting. Finally, onto the founders, probably the most important part of this. We have the three chaps here. Robert, who was a Thiel fellow, Peter Thiel, the PayPal guy, who wrote 0 to 1. He puts up an award for people to drop out of college and who want to build things. So Robert got that award. Background in blockchains, distributed systems, and cryptography, and a long-time member of the Rust community. From my technical friends, I understand that Rust is very good at parallelization. So yeah, it's probably why the Polkadot system is so scalable. In the middle there, we have Dr. Gavin Wood, who is the ex-CTO of Ethereum, and he's probably the most talked about one out of the three. Sorry, other chaps, Peter, Robert. But yeah, he invented the fundamental components of the blockchain industry, including Solidity, and Proof of Authority, Consensus, and Whisper. Yeah, this guy's pretty badass in the blockchain world. So yeah, definitely strong technical roots here. Finally, we have Peter, who is technology director of Web3, where he works on supporting the development of next-gen distributed tech. So those are the three founders. In terms of the wider team, it is mostly done by Gavin. Has a development agency that the Web3 Foundation contracted to do the work. So it's mostly done by that team on the Polkadot platform, but there are lots of third-party developers all contributing. And yeah, that's really it. In kind of summary, it's a strong, well-funded team. It's favored amongst developers with growing usage, and the protocol scales extremely well. So really, we're talking about something that is probably one of the more interesting projects I've looked at, and in terms of maybe the price. So I think it's a strong one. We've got lots of interesting projects, but Polkadot seems to be answering a lot of the questions. I need to go and look into Cardano and yeah, see where we're going. Yeah, that's all for today. I hope you like this video. Please give it and looking forward to replying to any comments I get. Let me know where I've got stuff wrong. Really hope this is useful, and if you could take 2 secs to give us a subscribe as well, I know I'm doing well, and that will help more people find this video. So hope you enjoyed that, and hope you enjoyed a kind of business take on how Polkadot's doing.